Welcome to CEBSAR Talk. I am Evans Apia Kisi, the host of CEBSAR Talk. CEBSAR is Center for Better Society Advocacy and Research Africa. CEBSAR Africa is a non-profit organization that believes in a better society for all. We in CEBSAR Africa believe that a better society begins with you and I. Hashtag, a better society begins with me. For more information, please log on to www.cebsarafrica.org. Please follow us on the various social media platforms: YouTube, CEBSAR Talk, Facebook at CEBSAR Africa, Instagram, CEBSAR Africa, and Twitter at CEBSAR Africa. Like always, today we bring you another interesting discussion on the topic plastic pollution in Ghana, problems and solutions. Plastics are non-biodegradable materials that present health threats to the environment and consequently may impact human health. Ghana generates around 1 million tons of plastic waste each year, according to a United Nations Development report. Generally, only 5% of these waste are recycled. The rest accumulates in the environment, with around 23% ending up in the ocean. Some countries have found ways to deal with plastics becoming pollutants. Examples can be found among developed countries like Germany and Sweden, and developing countries like Kenya and Rwanda. For instance, in Kenya, buyers are encouraged to carry their bags for shopping, as shops do not put goods in plastic and shoppers are encouraged to buy polythene. In this episode of CEBSAR Talk, we discuss plastic pollution in Ghana and propose lessons from better alternatives for solving Ghana's plastic problems. And to help us deal with such an important issue are Mr. Frank Boateng Echampon. He is a technical advisor for sustainable management of e-waste at GIZ Ghana. He's also a volunteer at Rural Green Recycling. He holds MSc in Sustainable Resource Management from the Technical University of Munich, Germany. He also holds Bachelor of Science in Industrial Chemistry from the University of Cape Coast, Ghana. I must say it's a pleasure to host you. Welcome to CEBSAR Talk, Mr. Frank Boateng Echampon.
Thank you, Evans.
Great. And our next guest is Mr. Martin K. Mensah. He's the Director of Research and Programs at the International Center for Sustainable Environment Promotion, Ghana. He's a doctoral researcher in land remediation management at the Freiburg University of Mining and Technology, Germany. He holds MPhil in Environmental Resources Management from the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, Ghana, and holds Bachelor of Science in Agricultural Technology from the University of Development Studies in Ghana. It's also a pleasure to host you. Welcome to CEBSAR Talk, Mr. Martin K. Mensah.
Thank you very much, Evans. It's a pleasure being on this show.
Great. And our last guest is Mr. Solomon Kwesi Atta. He's a humanitarian and environmental sustainability advocate. He holds a master's degree in public policy and global affairs from the University of British Columbia, Canada, with a special focus on resources, energy, and sustainability. He also holds BA in political science from the University of Ghana, Legon, and he's held some key positions, including the UBC AMC Sustainability Project Fund Administrator. He's also been the Greener City Initiative Scholar for the city of Vancouver, and between 2012 to 2018, he was budget analyst for the Local Government Service of Ghana. I must say it's also a pleasure to host you. Welcome to CEBSAR Talk, Mr. Solomon Kwesi Atta.
Thank you, Evans, for having me on your show.
Great. And like always, to our fellow CEBSarians, as I described them, today we are also streaming live on Facebook. If you're just joining us for the first time, we encourage you to stay with us and send your questions coming in as we look at plastic pollution in Ghana, but most importantly, we prefer some solutions to addressing this menace. Don't also forget that we have a YouTube channel. And so if you've not yet subscribed, please do so for us. That is, if you just go to YouTube, CEBSAR Talk, you would find most of our videos that we've uploaded over there. And today we also have some audience in our midst in this Zoom session, and we'll also be taking some questions from them. So thank you. So gentlemen, welcome to CEBSAR Talk.
Thank you.
Great. So, I mean, I'll start with you, Martin. And the first question I wanted to ask is, yes, we've looked at the synopsis. We generate 1 million tons of plastic waste every year. That's a huge amount. So the question is, why is plastic a problem? I mean, to the lay person, why should we be bothered by the use of plastic or the generation of plastic waste? Why is plastic a problem at all?
Thank you very much for your question. And then greetings from the International Center for Sustainable Environment Promotion. Back to your question, Evans. Plastic is not the issue. It is we as humans. We are the users of the product. We make product for our use and our convenience sake. So for me, plastic is not a problem with humanity. However, managing plastic waste has become our problem because as it stands now, we still haven't developed adequate, sustainable waste management systems for our waste. And it is not only in Ghana. I don't know exactly where we don't have issues with plastic waste, except that Ghana has a lot of challenges. The synopsis, you could see that, of course, we have varied data floating. Others are of the view that we are equally recycling about 18% of our plastic waste in Ghana. But grant that we are even recycling 20% of all the waste in Ghana. Is it enough? Out of 1.1 million tons per annum. So the issue is we have failed to put in pragmatic measures in managing the if I should say, the waste or the byproducts of artifacts or materials we use for our convenience. Let us talk about this. And whatever it is about plastic waste is a matter of behavior. Evans, tomorrow morning, there will be cocoa at my favorite joint. When I go there, I basically would not take my car or my flask from the house. I will go to the cocoa and say, Mami cocoa, 1 cedi, cocoa near city, if I make a count, 2 cedis. And then Mami Kose, 1 cedi. That is all. Before you leave there, the porridge seller will give you cocoa in rubber. Again, we'll put your kose in this white 1 cup rubber. After that, he will tie them together and put them first in a black polythene bag. After the black polythene bag, then he will put a colored bag because you are a young, nice gentleman. You don't have to be holding black polythene. So they will then put it in a colored bag to look nice. So by the time you alone move away from the cocoa seller, you would have taken with you about 4 pieces of plastics. Interestingly, these plastics are not recyclable. These are single-use plastics. After using it, you are not able to re-engineer them for other serious use. That is not with the cocoa people. Let us go to our favorite wache joint. Before you leave the wache joint, you see that you would have taken with you polythene sheets. You move this to your workplace early in the morning to consume. And then from the joint or point of sale to your place of eating may last less than an hour. So less than an hour, you are taking with you about 4 pieces of plastics as an individual. Now, multiply this by the number of individuals who may have to patronize same services or similar services from the rice and soup people from different things. So the question is, what would have happened if I had taken with me my flask to buy my favorite wache? Would I have taken with me 4 pieces of plastics? No. So plastic is there. And then we are buying them because it offers services or convenience to us. But the aftermath is our challenge. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll come back later to ask you something that you pointed out, particularly issues with regard to how we manage this plastic waste. So I think the names have switched. I'm going according to how I see the names here. So Solomon, now Martin makes the point that plastic is not really a problem. And I think for me, he emphasizes more on attitudinal and behavioral causes, being the main reason why we seem to have these sort of plastic waste pollution in Ghana. What's your take on that? Do you share the view, or you probably share the view with others who feel that we probably should just ban the use of plastics? I mean, because we might not be able to control these attitudinal or behavioral changes very well. Don't you think plastic is a problem and so it should be banned totally?
Thank you, Evans, for the opportunity. I think the people are the problem, actually. Before I even go into that, let me give you a global picture of how plastic has become quite a challenge for all governments around the world. I mean, according to the United Nations Environmental Program, every minute we use about 1 million plastic bottles, and about 5 trillion single-use plastic are used every year. I mean, if you look at the first decade of the 2000s and compare it to the last 40 years before 2000, the first decade alone, the plastic use within the first decade of the 2000s alone is more than that of the last 40 years before 2000. The statistics indicate that over 300 million tons of plastic materials are used every year.
Sorry, but if you could speak up a bit for us. Thank you, Solomon.
So that is how the global picture is looking like. And we in the developing world, we have become addictive to the use of plastic. And I know Martin elaborated on that very well. I mean, how we use plastic materials, and apparently we do not have any system to manage plastic waste. I mean, in most countries, there are effective systems at least to sort them out, at least to collect them. We in Ghana do not have any system. And anybody who apparently went out to buy cocoa, who went to workspace to buy cocoa, or I mean, any other place that they found themselves other than home, you can be almost certain that after using plastic material, they would throw it away somewhere just by the street. We did not have any waste receptacles in the street like other advanced countries have it. So actually, plastic has some very good, purpose. Of course, they help us carry stuff, home or wherever we find ourselves. But again, the problem is us not having effective way of managing it, or effective way of even collecting it in the first place, or even sorting it out in the second place. So it's the management system that is the problem. The other part of it is that it looks like government are not really concerned, or we haven't really acknowledged the magnitude of the plastic problem. And until we actually acknowledge that and take practical measures to solve it, really, it's going to still be a canker. It's going to still be an abattoir on our neck. Yesterday, there was a major flooding in Kumasi, and I know you followed that news. And I have lived in Kumasi almost my entire life, and really, I haven't seen Adum, gotten to that level of flooding. Never in my life. And what is the cause? I know there are problems with how town planning system and all of that, but I can tell you emphatically that one of the major problems is that plastic has choked our gutters, and that waters are not finding their way, when there's a heavy rainfall. So it's kind of an abattoir on our neck. I mean, I can also cite Accra. Of course, we all know the Odo River, for example, it's full of plastic, and it's a major kind of river, and at the same time, a drainage system that enters the sea. So the problem is us, government, and the people not really acknowledging that plastic usage and mismanagement of it waste, is a problem. And until we actually set up to, develop policies that will inure to, us using plastic or even cutting its use, and at the same time managing its waste, really, it will continue to be a problem for us.
Thank you very much, and Solomon, and I like the way you ended. That's actually why we are here today, to look at ways with which we could help to address this problem. Plastic itself might not be a problem, as Solomon and Martin has already explained. It's more about the human beings who are making it a problem. Frank, what's your view on that? I mean, at some point, I was still wanted to ask that, is it also not a good idea if we just decide to ban it, if we do not have systems already in place to check plastic waste pollution? What's your take on that?
Yeah, thank you very much, Evans. I think Martin and Solomon has already done justice to the question. I share the same view with them that plastic is not a problem at all, but the management of plastic waste is the problem. Let me maybe take it from this angle. Plastic on its own it has a certain characteristics, and that is it's malleable. So when you say plastic is malleable, it means it can be casted, you can press it, you can extrude it into films, fibers, plate, tubes, boxes, and a lot of things. So imagine what plastic can do, and it can be applied in packaging industry, building and construction, electronics, everywhere you can think of. Just imagine what plastic can do, and you can just change plastic into that thing. And if you look at the numbers, how much plastics are we generating in Ghana? Around 1 million bottles or plastics. In the world is 400 million tons. So if we have 7 different types of plastics. Let's just take PET. And Ghana, the industries in Ghana are producing 68,000 tons of PET bottles in a year. And if you multiply...
Sorry, for the sake of our viewers, what is PET?
PET is polyethylene terephthalate.
Oh, okay, that's okay, PET.
Yeah. So if they are producing this amount of PET in the country, and let's say PET, recycled PET, it depends on how you've processed the material though, because if you just collect PET, maybe you can sell it at 1 cedi. If you clean it by removing the lid and the labels, you can sell it around 1 cedi, 20 pesos. If you shred it, you can sell it around 1 cedi, 80 pesos. And let's multiply this by 1 million, 1 million, and see where we are coming from. And if we hire people to process these amount of plastics that are being generated every year, how many jobs are we going to create? So for me, as my brothers already just said, plastic itself is not a problem because it's also very cheap, it's very light, easy to store and transport. It can be, you can add any color. It has so many good properties that you cannot say plastic is not good. It has some properties that wood, metal, and other materials does not have. So for me, plastic is not a problem, but the problem is the management. And for the management, maybe we will talk about the management later, but I also share the same view that plastic is not a problem, but the management of plastic is the problem. Thank you, Ivan.
Thank you very much, Frank. And so maybe moving on, and this time I'll start with you, Solomon. Let's just look at some of the, I think Martin already started the discussion with the causes of these plastic pollution. Of course, if we are able to tell the causes, then we know we can provide the solutions to address this causes largely. So Solomon, beyond what Martin said, what are some of the causes of these plastic pollution that we have in Ghana? And if you could also add to it in terms of which industries are behind it, so that I will later then allow Dr. Bunker to make some intervention. Just briefly on that, what are the causes and which industries are behind these numbers?
Yeah, I think the main causes is that, we have become addicted, like I indicated earlier on. And I mean, let's even make it practical. Prior to the 2000s, we almost always drank from our taps, you know. Going forward, we have had the impression that really tap water is not safe for us to drink. And of course, the galamsey activities that is going on and the use of all of those, you know, mercury material, you know, has indicated that really water coming from our tap is not safe to drink. And as a result, everybody is either drinking from a bottled water or a sachet water. I mean, on average, Evans, how, like, what quantity of bottle, either bottled water or sachet water do you drink a day? And that is just one person. I can bet you that at least one person will drink not less than 2 or 3 sachet water. Means that every time we drink water, we are producing plastic waste.
Okay.
I mean, the Coca-Cola companies and all of those, you know, soft drink companies, they package their products in plastic materials. And really, none of these companies have made any effort to, as it were, collect them back. Neither has the government also taxed them for the waste that they are producing out there. So the problem is that there's a lot of market failures. And in policy terms, market failures means that something that somebody is benefiting from, and that thing is causing, you know, some social, you know, cost.
Yeah.
Because really, when Coca-Cola produces Coca-Cola and people drink it, they get profits, and they are not taking responsibility of the waste that they are generating out there. Absolutely. So are the pure water producers. And now it's become so ubiquitous. And every corner that, you know, you pass in this country, somebody is producing pure water. We aren't taxing them. Government has made an effort in the last budget that was passed in Parliament to actually impose some taxes, which is called, I think, environmental and pollution taxes. It's part of the energy sector levies, right? $10 per liter of fuel. It's good for the emission side. And here, when I talk about emission, I'm talking about carbon emission. But again, I thought that the same taxes will be applied to the to plastic producers. So at least if we are spending the taxpayers' money, we know that those who are producing it are also contributing to, you know, managing this waste. Now, the second point is that we do not have any efficient system to collect plastic. Neither do we have any system to actually sort them out. In most advanced countries, like I said earlier on, I mean, we have waste receptacles in our homes. Every, say, 100 meters or 200 meters on the street, there are waste receptacles, and actually have different kind of bins for different kind of waste. And that is the way to go for our country. You know, I've worked in the local government service between 2012 and 2018. And I will tell you that, you know, the waste management system at the local level really is a problem, because not only don't we have any waste receptacles in the streets, homes have it, but look, everybody disposes their waste where they want to dispose it. And central government has tried to resolve it in a way by employing Zumilion. But even that is not really working, because I think the approach in the first place is wrong. Waste management around the world is managed by local governments. In this case, the central government deducts a percentage of the District Assembly Common Fund. and contract Zoomlion to actually manage waste almost the entire country, which is really wrong. I mean, it has created what we call monopoly for Zoomlion. Whether they are doing a good job or they are doing a bad job, the local government entity has really no say, because the central government signed the contract with them.
All right, thank you very much.
Very wrong. I know in UK, there are more than 50 waste management companies, and every local government entity, like every district assembly, has the power, the authority to employ their own waste management companies. And you know how these things pan out, right? Where there's no competition, I mean, there's no efficiency. True. So that is our problem. Our approach to solving it is not really working. But of course, you know, people, as we have it in Ghana, want to have their own way to get something, you know, so, but it's really causing this mess.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much. I have a follow-up question, but I'll come to you. But before that, Dr. Bansa wanted to have an intervention. Hello, Dr. Bansa, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Evans. Thank you so much. So I have a couple of comments, practically based on the initial overview each of the panelists gave. Okay. And the first one that I would like to comment on is the emphatic statement that has to do with plastics is not a problem. I don't think, in my personal opinion, and from a sound scientific perspective, I disagree, you know, because research had shown that plastics is a problem. It's been linked to a series of health defects, such as cancers and birth defect and things like that. And that has to do with leaching of chemicals. You know, one of our panelists even mentioned PET, right? Leaching of chemicals into foods that are stored in these plastics, etc. Even along the manufacturing process of plastics, there are a lot of hazardous chemicals that are released and people are exposed to them and then cause them harm. So from that perspective, plastics in itself is a problem. But I also agree with them that, yes, management of plastics is what probably we have not been able to handle so well. But I want us to move away from management. I mean, we don't talk about management in these days. We talk about sustainability, right? Governance, sustainability. So why don't we move away from management, right? And dig deeper into sustainable production or sustainable use. And what do I mean? And we are looking at a situation where we embed or we add biodegradable materials in the plastic production so that, you know, plastics can biodegrade. Now, the problem is with the plastics is the inability to break down, right? So, same time, what we have been doing is to collect the plastics and then put them through a recycling process. And then Martin made a comment. I don't think that is quite true, you know, because in Ghana, as we speak now, there's a series of plastic recycling companies around, you know, who are collecting plastics, you know, from the street. People, the young boys go around, collect plastic from the street, and then sell them to these companies, and then they turn them, you know, into making other plastic materials like chairs, plastic chairs, and these containers that we use to fetch water and stuff like that. But in terms of sustainability, let's look at governance. Let's look at trying to embed or include biodegradable materials in this plastic so that they can even break down eventually, like any other organic substance, when they find themselves in our waterways or in our soils or somewhere else. So basically, I think that, yes, it's just a very important subject that needs to be discussed. But we can also look at it in the sense of sustainability. You know, what are the legislations, and then what changes can we make to the production scheme so that things can be different, and then we'll not be talking more of management later on.
All right.
Thank you. Yeah.
Very much, Dr. Bansa. But I think quickly I would allow my panelists to react here. because I got a question from someone whether the panels are being schooled here. I don't think this is the case, actually. It's his view that he's sharing. He feels that perhaps the statement that plastic is not a problem might not entirely be true, but I share the views with the panelists here that, of course, if we are able to manage it very well, there's no system. I keep on saying, as an agricultural student, there's no agricultural system that has no effect on the environment. You know, most of these systems do have some negative externalities, as Solomon also tried to talk about. So everything that you do in this world, I feel, would have a problem to the environment or that. But I'll allow my panel members here to respond to some of the things that Bansa has said. But please briefly, so that we look at the solutions in addressing this problem. I start with you, Martin.
Thank you very much, Evans, and thanks to Dr. Bansa for his contribution. I think he has actually given a summary of what we are going to discuss. Perhaps summarize what the panels may have to talk about. But I think we are all gearing towards the same goal. So, yeah, that is why we are in a common discourse, and then it depends on the angle to which you may want to argue. Okay. So undoubtedly, saying plastic is not the main issue here does not necessarily mean we are saying plastic is not a big issue to talk about.
True.
Except that, why don't we look at the root cause? The plastics just don't fall. People produce them for a purpose. So if people produce them for a purpose, then why are people not able to handle it well? That is the problem. Because I know that when I go and buy a bottled water from a store or whatever, I will hold it very well until I exhaust the purpose for which I exchange my money for that product.
All right.
So if I am able to hold it until perhaps I finish drinking it, what prevents me from holding it well until perhaps I dispose it sustainably or well? That is the problem here. So,
all right.
That is my thoughts.
Great, thank you very much. Frank, quickly, I mean, for you to have a bite on the submission that Dr. Bansa did, I also have a question here for you from Edmond. He says, you all meant that plastic is not a problem. However, Martin meant that some plastics are not recycled. So are we referring to PET not being a problem or all plastics? I mean, I'm directing it to Frank because he brought in the PET thing. So, and it's also similar to what Bansa brought in. Your take on that, and when we say plastic is not a problem, are we referring to just the PET not being a problem, or all plastics are just not a problem?
Yeah, thank you very much, Ivansa. Yes, from on one hand, I agree with Dr. Bansa that plastics, yes, there are a lot of hazardous substances in plastics. So, for instance, if you talk about some of the plastics, they contain brominated flame retardants, which are very harmful to human health. And from that angle, yeah, I agree with Dr. Bansa that plastic is a problem. But then you also mentioned that everything you do has a side effect.
True.
Everything has a side effect. So in as much as some of the plastics types contain these hazardous fractions, some of them also can be recycled or reused or remanufactured, repaired, or turned into other products. So I wanted us to look at it from that angle. But if you look at it from the other side, that, okay, it can cause damage to human health and the environment, then from that angle, plastic is a problem. And I want to touch quickly on the causes also. So on the causes, I think the plastic problem, you have to look at it from different angles, because if you just talk about maybe government, you might make a mistake. So government has its role to play, a consumer has its role to play, a recycler, producer, everybody has their own role to play. But to touch on some few causes in Ghana, I would say, for instance, Ghana, we have so many policies in Ghana that says we should manage plastics or waste in general in an environmentally sound manner, but they are not implemented. That's aside from the policy point of view. The laws are there, but they are not enforced. And then if you want someone to do something, you have to incentivize them. And incentives come in two ways. You can either punish people for doing the wrong things, or you reward people for doing the right thing. So that is one aspect also, that you can change people's mind to maybe recycle or separate their waste so that they don't get into the gutters or in the ocean. The other point is awareness of consequences. Most of the time, when you are aware that something can harm you, you don't go there. So most people in Ghana have come to realize that most people in Ghana are not aware of the consequences of indiscriminate disposal of waste in general or plastics. So most people are not aware that microplastics are in the ocean. Most people are not aware that now the ocean is full of plastics. Most people are not aware. So in that case, nothing pushes them to do the right thing, because this is what we always do. We ban plastics, we throw them away. What will happen? For instance, somebody was talking about flooding in Kumasi, but if it doesn't flood in my village, I don't think it will motivate me to recycle my plastic or keep them in a very good way. And the last one I want to touch on, because of time, is the facilitating conditions. So if you ask me to hold my plastic, where should I put it? I can travel from maybe Kumasi to Accra. I will not even see a dustbin, a single dustbin. So if you want me to, keep my plastic or give it to a recycler, you should create that condition. You should create that facilitating condition to be able to put them at the right place so that people can also come for them, recycle them or reuse them or turn them into other valuable things. So for me, I would say the policy is not enforced. There are no incentives. People are not aware of the consequences, and the fact the condition is not facilitating enough for people to practice proper management of plastic waste. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Solomon, briefly, so that I can ask, should I say, a more important question, the reason why we are here to provide solutions in addressing this.
So thank you, Ivan. Let me quickly respond to Doc's comment. I think we can liken this debate to plastic. We can liken plastic to, say, fossil fuels, like petrol, diesel, and all of that. I mean, we all know that they have some serious consequences on our life when we inhale them. But I mean, we are still using them, and it's the same thing like plastic. I mean, imagine we living without the plastic. I mean, we still on plastic chairs. Plastics are used for very important hospital equipment, right? Even hand gloves and all of those that we use in the hospital are made from plastic. So really, we cannot live without plastic at this point. And banning plastic really is not the problem here. It's about how are we managing it? How are we, he mentioned sustainability. And one element of sustainability is how are we able to continue to use it without it making adverse impacts in our lives? And that is why really I think that plastic in itself is not a problem. It has all of those health consequences when they get into the sea, aquatic life, and all of those. But assuming we're able to recollect them, or we're able to collect them, we're able to recycle them, or even people buying plastic are not even using it once, they are using it anytime that they're going to the market. I mean, we will be able to manage it sustainably. So it's quite to do away with plastic in our lives up to this point. What we need to do is to find ways of using it and using it sustainably.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Solomon. So I think we'll end the debate here on whether plastic is a problem or not. What is important to us also is to find a way to deal with this challenge. And I think we've all agreed, including Dr. Bansa, who also intervened, that it is the management that's a problem. I know he prefers to talk about governance. One could also debate that management, governance. What exactly do you mean? I'm also a governance person, so probably I will tone his direction. But at the same time, I sit in the management department, so it could be a bit tricky. But bottom line, how can we address the plastic pollution problem in Ghana? Now, I start with you, Martin, because in your earlier submission, you said that at the moment we do not have any adequate sustainable management system in dealing with it. So the question we ask is, in your opinion, what's the best way to deal with plastics in Ghana? Do you think we can borrow from what is being done in Rwanda or in Germany? Bottom line, because of time, what would be your suggestion to the government, to Ghanaians, to whoever listening to you, the way forward in addressing plastic pollution in Ghana?
Thank you very much, Evans. There are lots of factors we need to join to make it holistic. And then these factors may come from governments, would have to come from individuals, may have to come from NGOs, and then policies wise. So quickly, let us look at this, Evans. What if we changed behavior or attitude in managing plastics? That is one. What if we consider the extended producer responsibility and then factored it into our system? That is, why not making producers liable to waste that is generated from their products or services? So once we make them liable, let's take company A, produces bottled water. We know from the good books, we can track how much they produce. Are we really taxing them realistically? That we are taking this so and so fund per bottle you produce or package you produce to make a big pool of fund to help in boosting recycling activities? I think this is one of the things. We could take it, but the question is, do they end up serving the exact reasons to which they were taken? That is another issue to talk about. Evans, if we sit here and assume, like my brother Frank said, that Ghanaians are aware of the effect of plastic waste in our environment, in my opinion, we will be lying. People are highly oblivious of this. They are just naive about these negative consequences of plastics in our environment. I don't know if we may go to effects of plastics in our environment on health. But Evans, if we have about 1 million seabirds dying annually because of plastic waste, if we have several thousands of marine mammals and sea turtles dying because of our plastics, then it is a big issue. But the question is, how many people are aware that when I dump my plastic waste in the polygonal and it ends up in the sea, it would trap fishes?
Okay.
How many people are?
Sorry to interrupt you. So why don't you add, the effect on the environment health? Because I think that it would be nice, as you talk about the effect, you prefer the solution. So you're just giving us one. It affects the fishes in the sea, and please go ahead. Okay,
thank you very much. And then again, look at Ghana, our management system for waste in general. For waste in general, we have those in the cities to say they may have companies coming to pick their waste from in their personal cans or whatever, storage bins, and then they don't even know where it goes. Perhaps they think it goes to the landfill side or whatever. But we still have communities in Ghana where people have to carry their waste from their house on their heads, and then go and then dump it there in a common site. And then later the assemblyman will have to organize a communal labor for people to go and burn all these waste. It has already been touched on. When we burn them, what do we bring out? Bromine, yeah? And then what are the effects of this? Dioxins, yeah? People are getting a lot of health-related diseases, respiratory-related diseases. In Ghana alone, over 28,000 individuals died prematurely because of polluted air. 28,000. Or better put, if you say 100 individuals have died in Ghana, the possibility that out of the 100,000, 203 died from bad air. So 200 and 3 people in every 100,000 is a big issue. And then these are mainly because we are burning our waste perhaps in the environment, and we are managing our waste unsustainably. I'm sorry, I don't mean to attack a company like Zoom Lion, but I don't know, sometimes I am tempted to say Zoom Lion is not a waste management company. Sorry, but perhaps a waste collection company, because recently they are trying to they've put up recycling facilities and others. But the question is, recycling starts from point source, where individuals would have to learn to segregate their waste.
True.
We don't burst all this waste together. You don't put a container, a big bin there, pour it there, and then you come and take it and tell me you are going to recycle. What's the quantum of plastics you can perhaps draw? So that is again an issue with us. Edmond asked a question about the PETs. If it is not a problem, then which one? Like I said in my intro, we have these single-use plastics, the cocoa rubber and stuffs. And then in Ghana, they make up to 40% of the total plastics we generate. This single-use plastics, 40%. So after you buy something and they put it in the black polythene bag, and then you get to them, that is all. We don't really need it for any other thing. People will burn it. Others will have to go and then perhaps take it to the landfill site. So these are all issues. We have people having heart-related diseases because of pollution from our plastics. So Evans, the environmental effect of this is enormous. Every year, or you can say on the average, we have about 8 billion metric tons of plastics, million tons of plastics in the ocean. Some estimate between 7 to 8 million. But the question is this a small number? The highest point in the world, in this world now, perhaps you could say Mount Everest. If you go to Mount Everest now, researchers have found plastics there. And then the lowest point you can find in the ocean, we still have plastics there. Yes. So it tells you how conspicuous plastics are, and then the effect they are having on aquatic organisms, including terrestrial organisms. See, people who have these free-range animals, goats are chewing rubbers.
All right.
And that is a big effect.
Let me just ask you a quick one, and please do this in just a few seconds for us because of our time. I think one of the key points you raised here is the fact that, well, a way to address this, you would say, is for us to change our behavior, which usually is very difficult. I just saw a message on Facebook by AK mentioned that usually it should come from leadership. It's more of leadership and policy failure. I think it's all about this debate again, fix the country, fix your attitude, which one comes first. But one of the things you said, which caught my attention, is that you said we should make companies liable. What do you mean by that? How should we do it briefly? And don't you think it could be a disincentive for, companies setting up and also promoting job opportunities for people? How should companies be held liable for these plastic pollution in Ghana?
Yeah, thank you very much, Evan. That is the extended producer responsibility. If you go to some advanced countries, you buy a plastic and then automatically a percentage is worked on. Germany or whatever. So you buy a bottle of water and you could see that there is a sign there which is saying you can refund. It means when I buy this plastic water in bottle, I drink it, I can take it back and then get an incentive. It is my own money that has been kept there for me. Okay. It is a way to persuade me to do which is right. So that is one.
Rather make the consumers liable like we do in Germany, because if you don't send the bottle back, you lose money, and so at the end of the day, you're paying for it. All right, thank you very much.
Okay,
Solomon, because of our time, if you could also again lump them up together, what are some of the effects of these plastic pollution, and then in your opinion, what's the best way to deal with plastics in Ghana? I think you've already mentioned one point already. You feel that, and Martin already talked about, I think, 4 levels. He says we should look at the role of the government, the individual, the NGOs, and policies. You said that government should take responsibility. That is the local assembly. They should manage these things and not to give it to the individual company that has enjoyed some form of monopoly. What else, in your opinion, do you think can be done to address this problem?
Thank you, Evans, once again. I think I need to get to the impact first. You know, these plastic problems are huge. I mean, we are not looking at it from that point. Ultimately, when plastic are exposed to radioactive radiation, you know, they disintegrate to microplastics, which apparently fly in the air. And we all inhale them, right? And really, like Martin said earlier, they have very negative impact on our health. I mean, they trigger, when they get into our body in a substantial level, they trigger immune reaction that could be cancerous, right? We are not looking at it from that perspective. I mean, recently there was a news in Ghana where about 111 dolphins were found dead on the shores. I mean, we are not even looking at, I mean, the only report that came out from the Ministry of Environment, I think Ministry of Fisheries, was that, you know, those dolphins were stressed. We are not asking the question, what caused the stress? Evidence suggests that plastic materials in the sea really reduce the level of oxygen. And there was another news that suggested that when the people, I mean, when fishermen go to sea, really, they come back with plastic material.
A lot of bottles.
A lot of bottles rather than fish. So we are living it actually. And I cited an example of how Kumasi flooded just yesterday.
True.
And plastic account for some of these things. It's also become a breeding ground for mosquitoes, right? Because plastic bottles in the streets host some quantity of water, which apparently becomes a home for mosquitoes to breed. So these are practical problems that we are facing, really. And in terms of the solution, I think I have 4 main solutions here. We need to intensify the public education. I think Martin said, Martin or Frank said that earlier, that the ordinary Ghanaian does not know what are the effects of the plastic on their lives, right? If we know, really, we might be thinking twice if we are disposing plastic waste in the street. I think the second part is that we need to also empower the local government to create bylaws so that if somebody is found disposing plastic in the street indiscriminately, they can be charged, right? They are all sources of revenue to the government. Until there are punitive measures, really, no one really would adhere to, you know, whatever information we pass on there. People must face consequences of their action in terms of throwing plastic materials around. I also think that we need to tax the producers. And I think just like in other countries, there are carbon tax. I mean, people who are using it, people who are producing it should account for it so that we're able to generate some revenues that goes into government coffers and then comes back to the local assemblies for us to effectively provide the infrastructure that needs to be put in place to manage plastic materials. Until we do some of these things, really, we are not getting anywhere. And of course, the infrastructure issue, I will still hammer it. It's the responsibility of the local government to provide waste receptacles in the streets, at least every 100 meters or 200 meters, we have to somebody should be able to find a waste, you know, bin there for them to throw their garbage in there. I mean, people are not going to carry their waste all the way from Kumasi to, you know, wherever they are going. It is our responsibility as a people to know that plastic has impact on our environment and on our lives. And it's the responsibility of governments. And here, what I mean here is local government and central government to provide the necessary infrastructure for us to be able to recycle them, for us to be able to collect them in the first place, right? So these are the practical solutions. Otherwise, we will not go anywhere. I am against the banning of plastic because look, it has some economic benefit. Like you said, a whole lot of people are in the industry earning, you know, income. And assuming we ban plastic, really, I mean, how are the Coca-Colas going to manage? How are the bottled, you know, water companies going to manage? How are we going to manage with pure water and all of that? I mean, these are things that we use in our daily lives. So it's not really about banning it. I know Kigali, you know, has done it, and it's really attracting some foreign, you know, it's attracting tourists, right? Because the city is so clean and everybody wants to go to Rwanda. In our case, we have become addicted to it already, and banning it really will cause a whole lot of chaos in the economic system. Unemployment, the fact that we might not be able to consume, we might not even get water to drink, right? But providing infrastructure to manage it, providing tax incentives to people who are creating alternative materials that we can use, and actually taxing people who are producing it and getting the money back into managing it is the solution for me.
Thank you very much, and thanks for the summary as well. So I have this question here from Abba, but I think I'll come back again and take your views. I feel we've dealt with it again, but let's see how you go around it. If plastic is not a problem, then why does it have to be managed? Frank, again, the same question. And I like one of the things you said. For the sake of time, I wanted to ask Solomon some follow-up question, but I think I'll ask you, because you also mentioned a point in your earlier submission that the problem is also with implementation. So we do have the laws. Solomon talks about empowering local government to create these bylaws. I don't know your view on that, because we seem to have the laws, but the problem is the implementation. What's the way forward in addressing this problem? And if you could add to some of the health and environmental impacts of this plastic pollution.
Thank you very much, Evans. Just to add some few things to the effects of plastic on our environment. When it's common to burn plastics or waste in Ghana, and Martin mentioned that some plastics, they contain brominated flame retardant and other heavy metals. So when you burn them, they release some substances that can cause affect climate change, and they release substances like dioxins and furans, which are very bad. They can cause cancer, they can cause hormonal disruption, they can even affect your fertility. So, for instance, plastic like from cable, if you burn a cable, and this is a common practice in Ghana, when you go to Agbogloshi, they are burning plastic cables just to get the copper from the cable, and it's really polluting the air, which is not good for the environment. Also, Martin mentioned that now the ocean is full of microplastics and even plastic, because there was an incident recently where the fishermen went to the sea, and when they returned, they didn't get any fish, but their nets were full of only plastics. So this is really affecting the marine ecosystem. And also, another typical example is what happened June 3rd, if it was 3 years ago, where because of the choked gutters, there was a flood, and then the filling station burnt. It killed about 153 people, and you spend money to clean the place. Look at the filling station, the amount of money they invested, and everything was gone because the gutters were choked. So these are some of the effects. Also, you can talk about tourism, because Ghana is very dirty and it doesn't attract tourists to the country because the place is very dirty. And maybe to come to the way forward for plastic management in Ghana, I don't think we have to ban plastics. There are several approaches to manage plastics, and one of them is what Martin mentioned, extended producer responsibility, where an importer or a manufacturer, you have to pay or make sure, according to the plastic policy, every manufacturer or an importer in Ghana, we don't manufacture so much plastics. Yeah, we manufacture so much plastics, but according to the policy, you are responsible for the recycling of that plastic at their end of life. So you pay something, they have this plastic recycling fund, but also they are collecting the money, but it's not being implemented. So you have to pay some money if you import some plastic products into the country. That will be used to recycle or manage plastics in a sustainable manner. And for me, that is one aspect that will work. And the other aspect is also to look at the whole value chain of plastic management. So if I talk about the value chain, I'm talking about importers, manufacturers, plastic users, consumers, waste pickers, recyclers and the government. So every stage in the value chain, there has to be some, some responsibilities on either the person who finds him or herself there. So for instance, importers, they are supposed to be made sure that they pay this levy into the plastic recycling fund, which should be given to recyclers to recycle plastics. If you talk about recyclers, they need to be given, they need to adopt the current technology. They need to be given incentives. How much taxes are they paying? If you look at consumers, they need to be given education on how to dispose plastics. If you talk about waste pickers, they need to also be incentivized, because most waste pickers are not even respected in Ghana, and it demotivates them to pick plastics. And now it has, I think, plastic has created a lot of jobs for this informal sector, because most people are collecting plastics and they earn their money from the collection of plastic. So if you are able to educate consumers that, okay, maybe you keep them neatly and give it to waste pickers, they also take it to recyclers, they get something to buy food. So for me, we can use a lot of different approaches. We can incentivize people who are using recycled plastic instead of importing virgin plastic, because to tell you, plastics are very cheap. So most people, most recyclers prefer to import them rather than using recycled plastics. The prices are the same, so why should I bother go through collecting plastics and polishing them before I use them? I'll just go for the virgin plastic. So maybe we create some incentives for recyclers on all the people in the value chain, so that they will all do their work. And government should also try to implement the policies. They should create the facilitating conditions, like situating dustbins at the right places, doing public campaigns, and then incentivizing even the consumers when they do waste separation, or when they don't separate, you punish them. So for me, banning is not really something I will go for. You can use a lot of, yes, for banning, you can also ban some plastics. Yes, it's very important, because some plastics like PVC, they also contain some chemicals so it's not good to recycle PVC and other plastics like HIPS. And yeah, a lot of plastics, they contain those heavy metals and other hazardous substances. So you can ban those plastics, and then we try to go into circular economy. So I would say now circular economy is the approach, because the National Plastic Management Policy talks a lot about circular economy, where waste, it aims at eliminating waste from the systems and then reusing the materials that are already in the system, so that we don't go back to to take crude oil and then convert it into plastics. So we keep using what is already in the system, and it becomes a closed loop.
All right.
We remove waste, and yeah, so I think we already have the policies. It's talking about circular economy, which is the right approach that even the advanced countries are going. And Ghana has it in the books. It's just about the implementation. So for me, this is what we should go for. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Frank, and thank you very much all our guests. If you just join us at CEBSAR Talk today, we are looking at plastic pollutions in Ghana and the way to deal with this problem. Our guests have been Solomon, Kwesi Atta, Martin, and Frank. So I'll come to you, gentlemen, to take your final or your concluding remark on this issue. But Martin, I'll be biased here, just Martin, because you wanted to say something. But I want you to respond to Abba's question. If plastic is not a problem, then why does it have to be managed?
Thank you very much, Evans. I think outrightly, we never disregard plastic waste not to be an issue, except that we said the major contributing factor or the problem itself is management. But once the problem is caused, then obviously we have to solve it.
All right.
Obviously, we have to solve it. So that is the problem. Evans, you know one thing, one of the reasons why it is a problem, it is because even until 1999, the various, take AMA for one, the various assemblies were managing their waste entirely. Then later, after, from 2001, they started bringing in international corporations to help them manage waste.
Okay.
Then from 2011, then they made zones even within AMA and said, okay, local contractors, take here, you two, take here, and then manage the waste here. And then they changed into the polluter pay policy. So if I live in Choco.
Sorry, because of our time, okay? Because Edmond, sorry that I have to do this. I'm so sorry. But I think that the point is well made. Like you said that I mean, we are not saying plastic is not a problem entirely, but the point also is that it is the human beings, it is the lack of effective and sustainable, management or governance of plastic waste that is causing it to be a major problem. So please prepare your concluding remark, especially on the way forward, what you feel could be done. You could repeat what you've already said. But before that, Edmond wants to make an intervention. Edmond, if you could do that in a minute for me, please.
Yes, thank you very much, Evans. And I'm just making this intervention because I've listened to the panelists tell the way forward. And I think there is one part missing that I would want to put in. I mean, I was in Ghana 4 months ago and I observed something. Being a climate change researcher, I dedicated to say I'm not taking much plastic. So I go to the provision shop, I buy things and I refuse to take plastics. And I realize it is more attitudinal because most of these plastics we are talking about, the problem is the end users, right? We can avoid the consumption of plastics, but this is something I don't see Ghanaians ready to do because it's a cultural thing. I remember one occasion the woman said, no, out of politeness, please take it. I mean, I cannot give your biscuit. It was a small biscuit without putting it in plastic. So my point would be, we also need huge education to really tell people, of course, plastic has become indispensable. We cannot simply ban it for many of them, but for a couple of them, we can change our attitude to reduce its consumption and therefore also how we manage it. So that would be my take as in how best to deal with plastic. It has to boil down to ask the citizens and to rethink, should everything demand being put in a plastic? Like if I buy simple pure water, it's so surprising that people buy one pure water and they still expect you to put it in plastic. Can't we not take the things that we buy without not putting it in plastic? Can't we not take recyclable bags along? Most people carry bags, so you can just put it in your bag, but people still demand it. For whatever reason, I don't get it. So we are part of the problem. And if we want to solve this, we should also change our attitudes in consuming plastics. Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much and well made. I think this points being made by Edmond, I would say, is re-echoing what Solomon, Martin, and Frank already said, especially intensifying the public education. But Martin, you wrote something on your LinkedIn page. I thought I really loved it. Why may the average individual feel more comfortable disposing of plastic waste indiscriminately and, of course, freely? So that's also exactly what Edmond said. And I think it was Solomon said, we are very addictive to the use of plastics, but we should also take some responsibilities, Ghanaians, and the fight against plastic pollution or the governance of plastic pollution should be a responsibility for all. Thank you very much. So I come to you to take your concluding remark. Frank, what would be your concluding remark on this issue, on plastic pollution and the way forward?
Yeah, thank you very much, Evans. I think we've talked a lot about it today. And I would say plastic, in as much as we see it as a problem, it has its good side and its bad side. That if, since we can also do away with plastic because of the qualities or its characteristics, I think we should put in place those structures or framework or a roadmap to manage the plastic that will be generated. And as I mentioned earlier, I would always say we should look at all the different angles. We should look at the consumers, we should look at policymakers, we should look at recyclers, manufacturers, waste pickers, everybody who is in the chain. Because if government does his part, if the consumer is not doing his part, you still not solve the problem. So I will encourage that we look at the approaches or find solutions that is suitable for our context or our Ghanaian context, and then apply it to the management of plastic waste in Ghana. And I think if we integrate all the various aspects, if everybody is playing their role and we are ensuring that we are monitoring and evaluating and improving it, plastic waste will not be a challenge for Ghana again. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I also want to one of the points that you said, and I also support that. If possible, we should be able to ban some of the plastics, like the PVC that you mentioned. They do have some hazardous effects. Before I come to Martin and then finally Solomon, I've been alerted that the audience would want to say one or two things. So I start with you, Abba. Please be brief. Abba. Okay, this is not the case. All right, then Martin, your concluding remark.
Okay, I think I saw one by Asante anyway. So in concluding, in a study by CSIR since 2013, even said that if we are able to recycle waste, then Ghana could have gotten about 1.2 million Ghana cedis monthly. Again, less than 2 years ago, the US Embassy reiterated that Ghana can create about 5 million jobs out of our plastic waste and then generate over 2 billion Ghana cedis from this. If we are able to recycle just about 87% of our total waste. So you see, this is the real opportunity for us to look inside the box and then create opportunities for ourselves. And then how can we do some of these things? One, currently we have young startups coming up. People who are using our plastic waste to produce affordable housing. Look at startups like Nail Plastics. These people are using this waste to produce pavement blocks. And then they are relatively cheaper than this cement or concrete housing. There was a documentary, I've forgotten the name. He built entirely a house with plastics, and it cost him about 60,000.
All right.
And then averagely, if it were to be concrete, it was going to be about ×2 the price. So these are available opportunities for us to capitalize. So in my view, let us look at this. And another one, perhaps will be the last, is we still have issues within our communities. I'm sorry, I don't mean to attack a community or whatever, but look at our slums. People are unfortunately, literally, staying on refuse dumps. And if you think these people should pay for their waste to be disposed of, then that would be a nightmare. So let us look at it, because even toilet facility I don't have in my house. I have to walk to the sea to do justice to myself. And then you mean I should pay some cedis for my waste to be taken away? No, there is a culture where some Ghanaians put their waste in polythene sheets or bags, go sit in trotro, and then intentionally leave their waste in the trotros.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Martin. But I think the point is well made. So Pius, before Solomon, I'll give you the last bite. But thank you very much, Martin. And sorry that because of time, I had to cut you in. Pius, if you could do that in just a minute for us, this would be good. We have Pius.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes, please, we can. Go ahead.
Okay, I had just wanted to reiterate what Frank has said and Martin has said on the banning of the single-use plastic. And that is what is our problem in the country. Yes, we cannot ban plastic outright because it's a very part of our culture as Ghanaians. But in the single-use, the one for the pure waters, the one for the polythene bags that we get from the shops, all these things can be banned. And the addiction, we need to create awareness on why this is harming our environment and harming us as individuals, and why we need to do away with these single-use plastic. And if there is going to be a policy on banning plastic, it should be on single-use plastic. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Pius. Solomon, you have the last bite, then we're off.
Yeah, I mean, thank you, Evans. I just want to reiterate that plastic mismanagement or indiscriminate disposal of plastic is as problematic as illegal mining. I mean, the damage that it causes the environment is almost like that magnitude of that of illegal mining. In environmental management, most countries, what they do is to set a target, to meet. I think we really do not have a target. We do not have a target to say that at the end of this decade, at the end of this year, we want to say recycle about 80% of our plastic waste. I mean, that's where the problem lies. Really, without a target, we are going nowhere, right? The government of Ghana has a policy that is called National Plastic Action Partnership, and it sought to apparently partner with other countries to manage plastic waste. But I think it has to be an internal thing. Let's see the problem. We are facing the problem in-house. What is the best way can we deal with it based on our approach? So I just want to say that public education is really very important, and I know my colleagues have emphasized on that. Plus taxing producers and users, it's everywhere, so that we're able to get back the money that we recoup from that into its management. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And this has been CEBSAR Talk. My guests have been Solomon Kwesi Atta, Martin Mensah, and then Frank. Forgive me that I've forgotten your surname. I do not have the full names. But guys, it's been wonderful. It's been great having you around. And thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much, those of you who joined via Zoom. Pius, Martin, Kofi, Moro, Frank, and Abba, and the likes. And also thank you very much, Dr. Bansa. Thank you very much, Edmond and Albert, for your interventions. I am Evans Apia Kisi. I hope we meet again next week as we bring you another interesting discussion on CEBSAR Talk. Bye-bye.